Hello and welcome to a Mulberry Talent Partners Career Conversation. My name is Kelsey Daly, and I am the Talent Acquisition Specialist here at Mulberry. So, a little bit about Mulberry. We are a full service staffing and recruiting agency headquartered in Portland, Oregon, with an office in the Silicon Valley. We specialize in the professional placements of human resources, professional and financial office, payroll, and operations positions with direct hire, temp to hire, and temporary opportunities. I would encourage you to check out our website at mulberrytalent.com to see our current job opportunities that we update on a regular basis, and check out our previously recorded and upcoming career conversations. So today we are joined by Kristen McConnell and Heather McBride. So Kristen is our Director of Operations and Talent at Mulberry Talent Partners. She joined Mulberry in June of 2021 and brings over 25 years of talent acquisition experience. We are also joined by Heather McBride. Heather is a professional resume writer and possesses a combined 30 years in human resources and resume consultation. Heather has assisted hundreds of individuals and organizations with 360 performance reviews, corporate recruiting, and professional resumes. You can learn more about Heather and the services she offers at inclarity360.com. And we'd like today to be super interactive, so please do not shy away from using the Q&A function on Zoom, and we'll try to get to any and all questions that come in. So without further ado, I'd like to pass it off to Heather.
Hi, everybody. I'm so happy to be here. And should I go ahead and share my screen?
Yeah, go ahead and share your screen.
Okay, so I was thinking about what would benefit people in today's job search world, and I thought about this. I've done some training in accomplishment-based and targeted resumes, and I pulled some of the data from that training to share with everybody. And basically what we're going to do is focus on accomplishment-based versus task-based resumes, when it's appropriate, when it's not, how much experience one would want with more of a task-based, and how much when you would like to use an accomplishment-based resume, which is usually most of the time. And so let me just move on here. But first, before we go into that, I want to talk about two things that are extremely important and that I get questions from my clients on a daily basis. And that is, do I really need a cover letter? And how important is LinkedIn? And I know that there's been a lot of discussion about cover letters and LinkedIn's over the last couple of months. I've seen a couple of presentations that have happened at Mulberry. And so I want to offer maybe a similar or a different opinion about cover letters and LinkedIn. And everything that I'm going to say today may or may not be applicable. There's not one right way to do anything. But this is in general, I have found to be true for most of my clients. There are some fields that cover letters aren't going to be really applicable. Hourly service employees tend to do application and resume. If there's a warm referral or you're being recommended and they want you to get that resume right over, you may not use a cover letter. But in general, a cover letter is very important. It's a vital marketing tool. It's part of your toolbox. Your cover letter, your resume, and your LinkedIn is like the triangle will really help you be as effective as possible within your job search. And the most important thing about a cover letter is it's a summarization of your resume, and it focuses on what matters to them, the relevant summarization. And you see these cover letters that say, I saw your posting at such and such, and I'm very interested in the job. What I would like to say is there is a unique way of approaching cover letters, is that if you address what you think their needs are in the first paragraph, you're talking to them and you're talking about their pain points. And then what you do is you have a summarization or bullet points. It can be in paragraph. I suggest bullet points because that way you can plug and play them in and out depending on the jobs that you apply for. But you know what to put in those bullet points, because in the job posting, it says what the duties are and what the qualifications are. And you can address those, and you can take from your resume, you can take from their job posting and reword that so that you're talking to them and their needs. So redundancy in your cover letter is okay. I suggest staying to one page. There are technical fields where 2 pages might be applicable, but as much as you possibly can, stay to one page and get straight to the point with some bullet points that address what's in their job posting. And what I say about cover letters too is that, yes, as an HR and talent acquisition professional, before I started doing this, there were times where I didn't read the cover letter. 50-50, it depended on how much time I had. But if you were one of my top candidates and I was going to be pushing that package or that resume package over to the hiring leader, I would definitely read the cover letter. And it gave me the opportunity to see what your communication skills were like. If you could get straight to the point, it proved to me that you would go the extra mile compared to your competition. So I just wanted to touch base a little bit about cover letters and give you the quick dirty about it, because that question comes up so many times. And when you do a cover letter, I think that you have a little bit of a competitive edge. All right. So the next thing is LinkedIn. So I want to tell you a little story. It's not the norm, but it blew my mind last year. I had a client that had a LinkedIn that was just basic and had been in her job for many years and wanted to do a change. And I helped her with her resume. And I always say, look, I'm going to do your resume, but we need to also do your LinkedIn, because a strong LinkedIn supports a strong resume. And when I was a recruiter, I would go into LinkedIn, use the Boolean search for those skill sets to find my candidates. I found most of my candidates through LinkedIn for 3 years when I worked at Oxford Instruments. And when I did this LinkedIn for her, no joke, that night, a VP of a company found her, was interviewing her that week. She never had to apply for a job. 3 interviews down the road, she's got the offer and they relocated her to the other side of the United States. That's not the norm, but that's how effective LinkedIn can be. And I know that recruiters have that back end program and they can Boolean search and they can find you. And even if they don't have that back end program, they can still find you as an individual searching those skill sets. So do a LinkedIn and turn off the notifications if you're concerned that your company is going to be notified. There's more about LinkedIn, but it's a very important job search tool. Here's something else I was thinking about. There's a lot of conflicting information about how to handle social media, LinkedIn, as compared to your resume. LinkedIn has turned into more of a social media platform in this day and age with the postings and the feed, but it's the wave of the future. We may not even have paper resumes in 5 years. LinkedIn is set up with a professional summary, your experience, your skill sets, and aligned with your resume as far as language. So you don't have to come up with different language for your LinkedIn. If you've got a solid resume, move that data over there. It's maybe the only time a recruiter sees you on LinkedIn. Why not use your data from your resume? I'm not saying put like proprietary information on there about your company, especially your current company, but you can use your narratives, you can use your skill sets, you can use your title, you can use in past employment some of your accomplishments. So I try to mirror it to my resume because it's my online resume. And that's why you don't have to reinvent the wheel with your language. Now, again, I want to say there's a lot of people with different opinions, but I have found this to be the most successful for my clients. All right, so on to the resume portion. This is a screenshot of one of my training programs. Sorry about the blur, but the 3 things we're going to talk about for accomplishment-based resumes or targeted resumes is the difference between task-based and accomplishment-based, how you write accomplishment, the most effective way to write an accomplishment using the STAR method, which you've probably heard, is a lot of you are human resources professionals in behavioral interviewing. Also, just a side note, writing these for your resume helps prepare you for your interview. So I do a lot of work in my edit calls with clients about STAR and behavioral interviewing, and where you can place those accomplishments in your resume. All right, there's a controversy about which one it should be, but the easiest way for me is SAR. So situation and task. You've got the three components of a really good accomplishment-based bullet point. What was the problem or the challenge? What were the steps that you took to solve it, even if you worked with a team? We're going to talk a little bit about that at the end of this presentation, about team versus I. And what were the results? What were the qualitative or quantitative results? And so I found a couple of bullet points that I wrote for myself, just so I didn't disclose any client information. So let's go over to the situation action result, or actually task-based and accomplishment-based. So a task-based resume is the kind of resume that you see where it's just a list of duties that you do and what your day looks like. And those things are very important in an accomplishment-based resume, but you take it to the next level. So a task-based bullet point would be handle incoming telephone in plant seed and grow plants to maturity. These are different types of industries. Analysis and reporting for hospital board of directors. So those are things you find in a job post, a job description that tell you what your duties are going to be in the day-to-day. And then what you do is you take that task to the next level. So the situation is you need to handle telephone calls, maybe in a call center. And then you could mention that for managing 50 clients across the nation and resulting in increasing call volume by 15%. So that's a quantitative result. The nursery task-based, what did you do to solve the problem? You reduced the plant diseases and increased propagation times, resulting in 60% reduction in lost plants. And then again, increasing hospital reported data accuracy by 90% for the analysis and reporting. So that's really what you do is what was the situation? What was the actions that you took? Maybe you don't put the actions in the bullet point, but it helps you get to the results when you're putting it in your resume. And then what were the dollars for salespeople, account managers? How much did you increase revenue? What was the percentage? If you can't use numbers because it's proprietary, it's not public information, you can use percentages. How many clients did you bring on board? What problems did you solve if you're a safety guy or gal? What safety issues did you solve? Did you prevent OSHA inspections? For reporting and analysis, the data accuracy, you could even take that to another level and say data accuracy by 90%, which solved a particular problem. So even though it's situation, action, result, you can mix and match how you present the data in the bullet points. So here's a couple of examples that I came up with. Reorganized 4 departments into a streamlined call center and health records department, reducing annual payroll by 50K. And sometimes people think that in an industry, 50K doesn't sound like a lot. So that's when you might say reduced annual payroll by 20%. Or designed, developed, and implemented a 360-degree review using SurveyMonkey and providing a forum for operational feedback and preparation for strategic POA. So there again is what the situation and what were the results. And I put a little action in there also. And the third one is designed and trained performance management processes, instilling supervisor confidence and reducing excessive administrative hours that impact operations. So notice that the 2 bullet points, design and developed and design and trained, don't have numbers, but they do talk about the qualitative or the impact on the organization. Okay. So one of the things that I have noticed is, especially in the human resources world and other departments where it's more people-centered, where your role is support, I find that a lot of people tend to all in their resume say we or the team, or in the organization, the culture is team-based, we, and I get that. And then also people have problems bragging about themselves, which is why sometimes they work with a professional, because somebody else can do it better for you if you have that tendency to focus on what we are doing rather than what your individual contributions are. That's great inside of the organization. And I'm a big proponent of that. I was that way. I'm still that way. I like to be behind the scenes. I like to help people, and I don't need the credit, that type of thing. But on your resume, you need to identify what your contributions were. And it is okay, I say, to push the envelope and be more of an I, where you're taking credit for the accomplishments. If you're a leader within your department, even if you're not, your contributions created that, and you're going to have an opportunity in the interview to give more details. So the resume is about getting the interview, and the interview is about getting the job. And in that interview, you can give more details and show them that you are a collaborative team player. But on the resume, hiring leaders want to see what you can do for them in that role. I'm not saying don't put a little bit of that team work in there, but when you're talking about your accomplishments, unless you're talking about being a project manager or a team lead where you're developing teams, try to focus your accomplishments on your individual contributions. Another thing that I find is, I think it's what you call the halo effect. It's been a little while since I used that terminology, but people say, I can't remember. I've got 20 years of experience. I can't remember what I did. So one of the ways that I jog their memory is by asking them to find their job descriptions, asking them to provide me with performance reviews, reports that you've created for your team or for your leadership or for your board of directors tend to have summarizations of things that you and your team did, presentations that you've created for training for maybe an external entity, or where you're doing your annual or your biannual reporting of what you and your department accomplished. Sometimes you can find what your team did on your company website, in your media, in the about section. A lot of times marketing people will put what the organization did, and it'll jog your memory of what your contributions were. The other way that you can do it is go and search job postings that are similar to the work that you've done. Look at their duties and requirements to jog your memory about what you've contributed. So I wanted to present you with places where you can go to find your accomplishments, because what I want you to do today actually is start an accomplishment database, so that you can prevent that what happened in the last 3 months is only what's in your brain. What I say is bring up a Word or an Excel spreadsheet, call it accomplishment database. And in this busy world where you're doing something and everything all day long, especially if you're in leadership roles or a pretty extreme responsibility level position, why not put it on your Google Calendar or wherever you calendar and say accomplishment session. And that week or twice a month or once a month, you go into that and you even have the columns like situation, action, result. Like, what did you accomplish this week or during this time period? What steps did you take and what were the results? Because if you do that, I've had so many clients over the last 7 years, if they do that, they'll call me after 2 or 3 years and say, hey, I got that job a couple of years ago. I'm looking for another job. And I said, what, did you do that database? The ones that did, when we have our session, they can go back over that period of time and access their accomplishments. And then what they have is a database of plug and play. So they can just look at the job posting, look at their accomplishment database. They've got a solid resume, and they just put the relevant bullet points that matter to the job inside of their accomplishments. And it takes them like 15 minutes. They can also do that in their cover letter if they do an accomplishment database. So something that I was thinking about that I didn't do a slide for is placement. There's lots of places on the resume where you can put accomplishments. In your professional summary, which should be at the top, just like LinkedIn, professional summary, or you can call it highlights of qualifications, where you talk about you as the professional, calling yourself what it is they're looking for, give them what they want, psychologically speak their language. And in that summary, you can put 1 or 2 bullet points of accomplishments that matter the most to them. You can weave these accomplishments into that narrative that's like the job description of what you do and the title on the resume. Or you can leave your accomplishments outside of the narrative and go highlights of accomplishments or selected highlights or relevant highlights. And then on the bullet points, put the accomplishments. And I say, don't just do this whole paragraph and it's all slammed on there. When a person is looking at a resume, you're wanting to pull them down the document. You're wanting to keep them engaged. You don't want them to have reader fatigue. So if you separate out the data, even if you yourself are like, okay, I don't have any qualitative or quantitative results, what you can do is you can have your day-to-day narrative, and your selected highlights can be the most important things that you do, in your opinion, and are relevant to the job posting. So those are that you can put the accomplishments, put them all over the place in different ways, or you can just have them right under the narrative. I have a lot of information in my head. I could go on and on about this, but I would love to field some questions about what I've been talking about.
Hi, Heather. Hi, everybody. It's Kristen. I have a couple things, and not so much questions, but just some from a person who we read resumes all day long, but just some of the things that you highlighted about just that last point of avoiding reader fatigue on resumes and how separating that data out is so critical. And we talked to candidates about that, but that was the perfect way to phrase that, because sometimes we struggle with how to explain how to avoid the paragraph, because it's just so hard to read that when you're going through so many candidates sometimes. And if you're not spending your day reading resumes, it's just that you can't digest it sometimes. So I think that's a really good way to say that, to keep your eyes moving down the document. I think that's really helpful. And I love the idea of the accomplishment database and trying to keep that information at your fingertips, because it is hard sometimes to think about what you have accomplished. And so I think that's just an excellent suggestion. I'm curious if you have any thoughts or guidance on how many bullet points or like individual things you should have per job. I know it probably depends a little bit on your length of service in the position, but do you have a recommendation of minimum versus a maximum number of things that people should list?
Okay, I have a very formulated method of resume. I don't believe that they have to look all different, because LinkedIn doesn't look different. We train ourselves to see what's on LinkedIn. And so that's what I want to say that first. As far as bullet points, let me give you 2 or 3 examples. Say you have someone is coming out of college or 3 to 5 years of experience. I always say, okay, 1-page resume. The narrative, which is more of a paragraph, will be shorter. And I say you might be struggling to find bullet points. So 3 in your last job. Then you could do 2 in your job before that, 1 or maybe even none. And then at the top, you could have your professional summary, or the objective is really outdated. It really bores people to death, that objective, because it may not be the same objective the company has. So you're setting yourself up for failure by doing that immediately. But even if you're just saying in your professional summary, aspiring mechanical engineer, or if you have more experience, you can say experienced mechanical engineer in the field, in the industries of, and talk a little bit about being a collaborative team player. Then I say do in areas of experience and or areas of expertise, where it's 2 or 3 columns of the skill sets using the language they use in their job posting. Because then what you're doing is you're addressing the human factor of those people, when we're screening resumes, we're like, okay, all right, does this look good? Okay. But the applicant tracking systems pick it up because, as you know, the algorithms and applicant tracking systems are different, and they're looking for a certain percentage of keywords, and they're going to use that job posting and its language, take that, hijack it, but then also show that if you use the skill sets, the wording that they use, you can acclimate to their culture. Companies love to say things differently, and they don't realize how much of a disservice they do to themselves sometimes. But then software technology, and then you're going into professional experience. Show that you're technologically savvy, show any pertinent, important education, but you're doing this all in little bits. So you said something about the paragraph, that those paragraphs can kill us. But I'll tell you what, if you've got a 1 or 2 page, 2 pages more around 10 years or more specific, like R&D, scientists, CV type of thing. If you've done it the way that I'm saying, they're right before they get too tired of those columns of keywords, they're already in your professional experience. They'll go to the bullet points. That's where our eye goes.
Mhm.
So if you've got them by then, it's like Jerry Maguire, you had me at hello, right? Grab me, give me my relevant stuff. I'm going to take the time to go back and read the little narrative paragraphs of the day-to-day.
Great.
Does that answer the question?
It does. It does.
Oh, I have one more thing. I did a resume yesterday for somebody that, a federal resume, big time federal bigwig. He had like 8 bullet points. But it's federal, it's required. People know their standards.
Mhm.
I say, trust your intuition. If it's relevant, they don't have to read the 2nd or 3rd page. So if those bullet points are really relative, like you're an R&D guy or gal, and you did a breakthrough antibodies or something, you're going to have more bullet points. And there is no right or wrong way to do a resume. And if that person is writing well and giving you relevant information, you're going to read more of what they have. Does that speak true to you two? You're on this other side right now. I'm on this, I write the resumes, you do the recruiting. Does that speak true to you?
I think so. I think so.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Yep. We had a question come in from Josh. He says, when writing a resume, should it be 100% accomplishment based, or are all task-based claims able to be worded as accomplishments?
I have a question for Josh. What's the industry? Would he be able to share that?
Yes. Josh, if you can, camps/childcare.
Oh, okay. For childcare, it's going to be more task-based. It depends on if you're a camp director, you're going to have like how much enrollment increase that you had. You're going to have the programs that you developed. But if you're a camp counselor, you're going to talk about more of those qualitative things of what your approach is with your children and what you do day to day. So it all depends on the responsibility level. The people that are more of the individual contributors that are reporting into somebody that's accountable are going to have more task-based. If they're specialized fields like user experience, UX, or client relations people, they're going to have more of a mix of task-based and accomplishment. And then as you go up on I hate the word food chain, but more responsibility and accountability to senior leadership or board of directors, those people want to see the results that you've done for organizations, so they can see that you're going to do it for them.
Great. Okay. Josh says that makes sense. So thank you. Good. Perfect. Well, I think we're coming to the end already. 30 minutes goes by so fast.
Oh, really? I was worried I wouldn't have enough to say.
Oh, we are at the end. So let me share my screen again.
Yes. And I would like to say, gosh, Mulberry, we've been fortunate enough to know Heather for a while now, and we have several candidates that have had a lot of success in working with Heather and in going to her and working through resume updates and LinkedIn updates. And it just makes a world of difference. And if you just need to have that overview and that refresh, and Heather just does an excellent job. And we're so lucky to have her as a partner and someone that we refer people to, and to have you as a resource. So thank you, Heather.
Thank you. It really is an honor for me to help the people that you send over, and I love what I do. And it's just a pleasure to be able to help people find those jobs and to be part of that and know at the end of the day you've contributed. And I know that you too feel that way about your people. So thank you very much. I sincerely appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And here's a few ways to stay in touch with us. So you can connect with all of us on LinkedIn, and I provided all of our emails as well. And we just want to thank everybody for tuning in today. And we know that you have a lot of different options when it comes to webinars, but we're really happy that you chose ours. So hope to see you at future conversations. And thank you so much, Heather and Kristen.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Have a great day, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.